Today on
Doomed!
What is up, everybody? Have you ever wondered what it would be like to get a bunch of flat earthers in a room together at one time? Wonder no longer, because today on the show, we have Kelly Weill of the Daily Beast joining us to discuss her first-hand experience attending the Flat Earth Conference. That's right, people who believe the Earth is flat actually get together for more than one day, and they discuss, I guess, their belief that the Earth is flat. I don't know. That's why Kelly's here to tell us all about it. So let me just bring Kelly up on the screen here for all you YouTube watchers. And Kelly, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So you went to the Flat Earth Conference. Where did this happen, first of all? Where are these guys getting together to have this Flat Earth meetup?
So this was in Denver, Colorado, and Colorado is actually like a hub of flat earthers. Like, it has a huge fan base there. So a lot of people didn't really have to travel far, which was nice. You know, it was like half online community, half IRL community. It was a cool vibe.
A cool vibe at a Flat Earth Conference, but I bet it was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the first day was fun in that it was like, okay, wow, you know, this is a very new experience. You know, some of it's a little funny, some of it's just kind of blowing your mind. You get good interviews, and then by the second day, it became kind of dystopian for me, just kind of talking to all these people who have just such a fundamentally different understanding of what the world is for you. I almost got just a little psyched out by the second day, and I needed to just take some time away, and I spent that time writing my piece. But yeah, it was a lot. It was just in terms of speaking to people, in terms of the presentations they had, it was kind of overwhelming. And I can imagine if you're a first time flat earth goer and you're a true believer, it would be a really really compelling experience.
Right. I mean, so let's just talk about first, for people who don't know what a flat earther is and what a flat earth conference is and what flat earth even means. Can you just give us a little bit of background? What is a flat earther? I mean, I feel like it sells itself for you, but I guess let's explain it a little.
Yeah, flat earthers believe the Earth is flat, and there's not a 100% consensus across the community, but what most people at this conference thought is that Earth is a flat disk and it's covered by a dome, and you can't reach the edge of the dome because there's big ice walls all around it. So that's what they think.
Wow.
This group thinks there's no such thing as outer space. There's nothing outside the dome. And and everything's just basically in this little snow globe, and that's it. That's the universe. And it's a really interesting belief system. A lot of it ties into fundamentalist Christianity, and people who believe it are diehard.
Oh, so there's a crossover with I guess people who also believe that Jesus was hanging out with the dinosaurs.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not true of everyone. I mean, I met an atheist there. Some people, yeah, he was really fun because he was kind of creeped out by a lot of the more fundamentalist people. I met him, I was walking around the hallway. He's like, yeah, this presentation's too religious. I'm just going to check out. I'm like, it's amazing that you're skeptical in one sense, but you're right, completely convinced the Earth is flat. But yeah, so there are a lot of fundamentalist Christians, and there's people who believe in more pagan stuff. There are atheists, and people have found references in Hindu spirituality. If you read far back in any book, you're going to find some metaphor or some pre-modern science thing that refers to the sky's a dome. And it's not meant to be literal, but people who believe in certain religions do take it literally.
Right. Yeah, that's something else, though. An atheist who's a flat earther. I mean, how does that happen?
So my guess, well, he actually told me a lot of the process. A lot of them get into it via like lesser conspiracy theories. A lot of them are into like 9/11 truth. They get into chemtrails. They get into, a lot of them have like a very skeptical view of the government. So they're very into like surveillance and stuff.
Right.
And yeah, I think maybe just in this one guy's case, he's so skeptical of everything that he's managed to teach himself that, be skeptical of what they say the Earth looks like. Yeah, it's it's skepticism to its just nth degree.
But the flat earthers have been around for longer than some of those other conspiracy theorists that you mentioned, haven't they?
Yeah, so I think sort of the modern flat Earth movement started around the late 1800s, and it's kind of had its rises and falls throughout the 20th century. Usually it's big when there's a big leader. It seems to sometimes inspire like a cult-like following. And it was kind of on the decline going into the 2000s. But what really brought it into the mainstream recently was the internet. The Flat Earth Society started a forum, I think, 2004. And then when it really hit its stride has been around like 2014 to 2015, which is when all these YouTubers started making their Flat Earth videos. And that is when that's when everyone just started flocking to it because, as you know, YouTube is this great vehicle for having long, rambling conspiracy videos, and it feeds you into the next video about it and the next. And it's a good sell for bad ideas, and that's just how it hooked so many people.
Right. No, but so the Flat Earth Society though, they're like what, the main Flat Earth organization? What are they? Because honestly, when I first heard of Flat Earthers, like, there was always in the context of that group, the Flat Earth Society. Like, I never heard of Flat Earthers outside of that, actually, from the earlier, days of the conspiracy, at least.
Yeah, so it's funny. It's moved so far beyond that. So I think the Flat Earth Society is still the largest, but they're by no means like the definitive one now. So the Flat Earth Society actually has beef with most of the people organizing the conference I went to. So part of the reason is like their model, right? The people at the conference I went to believe that the Earth is probably covered by a dome. Flat Earth Society doesn't really push that. But because everyone is so conspiratorial, the people at the conference I covered suggested that the Flat Earth Society is actually a government psyop designed to undermine the Flat Earth community and make them look ridiculous. And they say it's ridiculous that that anyone would think the Earth is just this frisbee floating through space, because that's not what these people believe. They believe it's a dome and there is no space.
Naturally, all these things naturally flat. Right.
There's a whole panoply of Flat Earth believers, and wouldn't you know it, they don't all get along.
So let's go right into that then. So what are the different I don't even know how to go about this. What are Flat Earthers fighting about?
Oh my God!
Everything under the sun? Do they believe that there is a sun?
So that is a point of major contention. Some people say there is a sun in the middle of the solar system and we're on it like a little disk that's orbiting it. These folks that I spoke to mostly say it's the dome and that there is a sun, but it's a really small thing and it's like circling above overhead. And yeah, there is no consensus. What's the weirdest model I've heard of? Oh, they had, so they wanted to appear impartial. They're like, we encourage everyone to do their own research. So the first night of the conference, they had a debate, right? I'm like, hell yeah, we're going to debate Flat Earth. No, the debate was between a fundamentalist Christian who believed in Flat Earth and a fundamentalist Christian who believed that the Earth was round, but that the sun orbited the Earth. So it's like, there is every like little niche conspiracy you want to get into here, there actually is room for it. And like in that way, it's like kind of it's diverse, right? It's
But what's that guy doing at a Flat Earth conference? There should be some sort of like sun orbiter conference or something.
He was just there. He was there for the debate. And he does have like some fans in that community because he comes from the same like very like literalist Christian reading and, like skeptical about a lot of other teachings, but he just differed in the Earth shape.
How weird is that though? That you could have be a fan of someone who doesn't share all your beliefs, but if your belief is that the Earth is flat, and that is what you believe, how can you also go about being like that guy who doesn't believe the Earth is flat? I like his ideas, even though it's not like something like the Earth being round or flat doesn't seem like there's some sort of middle ground you could agree on.
I mean, I think when you're arguing what the sun is and does it orbit Earth or is it stuck inside Earth, I feel like your community is pretty small, so you take alliances where you can.
So, man, so you get to this conference. So let's move back just a little bit. So how is this? Because I want to really, I could. You come on. I have you on to talk about Flat Earth Society and Flat Earthers, of course. But you have this one of a kind experience. I don't know anybody other than you who's ever attended this thing. How many years has this been going on for?
This is only the second annual one. So like I said, 2015, huge year. Most people I talked to there got into Flat Earth in 2015. And that's when all the YouTube videos they're citing, all those YouTubers started 2015. So I think there's been 2 or 3 conferences in Canada too. There's a lot of Flat Earthers in Canada. There have been some conferences in the UK. But this is new, and this is their biggest conference. So as far as them coming into the real world, coming out from behind the screen, it's kind of a burgeoning movement.
Somehow, honestly, this is the craziest part of it to me, because as someone who's been following these conspiracy theories for so long, Flat Earthers to me were always the old boring one. It's got the old timers. They've been around forever. They're one of the OG conspiracy theories. People have moved on because of the internet bringing even kookier sorts of conspiracies to light. I did not realize that they've had some sort of revival.
Yeah, it's funny because I talked to a few people who were who are old timers, right? One of the first people I talked to said he's we've been here longer than almost anyone. We've been in the Flat Earth community since 2008. That's not that long. But yeah, what I think is interesting is my guess. I haven't been following Flat Earth since pre-internet times, but my guess is from what I've read, it was more of a biblical thing, or it was more scholarly. It didn't have the vibe it has right now, where a lot of Flat Earth discussion is conducted in Facebook groups, and it brings in the bad conspiracy Facebook memes and the all caps messaging, and that's not to make fun of people's tech literacy, but it's interesting how these platforms have sort of influenced what is the norm for discussion in this community, because I'm sure it's way different from back 20 years ago when people were only doing flat Earth meetups in real life. Right,
yeah, because so many conspiracies now, were birthed from the internet, or if they don't have anything to do with online, they sort of sprung up thanks to the internet. Whereas Flat Earth is sort of one of these pre-internet, like you said, it's a pre-internet conspiracy. But I guess I just thought I'm seeing a lot more talk about Flat Earth. I guess the Flat Earthers have finally realized that they're a little bit behind on science and technology, so they just discovered the internet or something. I truly did not realize that there was some sort of, born again Flat Earther where they've just all of a sudden sprung up anew.
Yeah, it's a whole new economy, right? I think probably for a little while it was easy to be a big name Flat Earther on YouTube, because all you had to do was go on YouTube and be a Flat Earther and you'd be really novel. Now, not so. You have to have a niche, right? There's Flat Earth musicians, there's guys who specialize in in doing things about outer space, they'll look at pictures, footage shot from the ISS and point to a little bit of debris and be that's a bubble, that's a water bubble, and it was filmed in a tank at NASA headquarters. So people have to specialize now. It's not enough just to be a conspiracy theorist. It's really hit its online stride, and you can sell any idea or sell any merchandise. Yeah, it's sort of moved into that model that we've seen a lot of other flat earthers, other conspiracies fill.
I literally just got a tweet from someone with the username @FlatEarthExpert saying, I don't know if that conference is really representative of the majority of flat earthers. None of the biggest names in the flat earth movement were really there.
I beg to differ, and I understand where that person's coming from. Obviously, there's different models of flat earth. It might not be representative of your belief, but I think a lot of the big names were there. Like Rob Skiba was there. Mark Sargent was supposed to be there, canceled last minute. I'm going to be really bad with names. I'm sorry, but it was a lot of the folks who I like kind of watched prepping for this. So
you could truly just make up names, and I would just believe those people exist and that they're flat earthers.
Yeah, so I can't speak for everyone's exact idea of what the flat Earth community was, but there were maybe I asked at one point how many attendees were there. They said 600 people had RSVP'd. By my eyeball, there were max at one point, 400 people in the room, and all of them seemed to know who these people were. So it's whoever they are, they have a big following.
That's I guess I wasn't sure. I was gonna ask you how many people do you think attended, and I guess I wasn't sure if I was gonna think maybe there was 50 people there, or maybe there was 1,000 people. I wasn't sure what to expect. But when you just said 400, I was like, that's more than I guess I was going to picture, I guess.
I mean, I could honestly be off because if you show me a large crowd of people, I'll guess anywhere within a 500 person range. Right. But they told me 600 people RSVP'd, and it seemed like maybe about 400 at any given time. It was a 2-day thing, big auditorium, so give or take. But I mean, that's when you consider the cheapest ticket for one person, the early bird ticket was $130, and everything, is more expensive going up. People shelled out for that, and it's hotel rooms, flights.
Flights?
Oh, yeah.
Flights?
Well,
the Earth is flat. Well, I mean, I guess you could fly across the flat plane back and forth, because the entirety of Earth would either be to your left or right, I assume. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's so funny actually, because I spent the first night, my biggest commitment was it was all in a hotel, right? It was a conference center, hotel bar. I'm I'm gonna get drunk with the flat earthers, so I went to the bar. I just tried to find people who would just put up with me. And I ended up talking to some people who are flight attendants, and they're yeah, I mean, it's probably flight paths are kind of made up and the pilots are fooled, or, when they say you're doing a intercontinental flight, you're not taking the path they say, or they say that you have to stop in the Middle East, like Dubai, where a lot of flight changes are. Because you can't actually go the flight routes that are on the globe because it's just,
my God. I'm actually really worried now that because if there's flat earther flight attendants, then there's got to at least be one pilot out there who's a flat earther.
I mean, here's the thing. They do believe, and the worst part is that I've now seen this map, the flat earth flight map, drawn out. So they do believe that they're flying in set patterns, right? So if it gives you any comfort, even a flat earth pilot thinks they're going from point A to point B, but it looks radically different from what it actually looks like on the map, because I've done the thing where they just flatten out the map and present that as fact. So I don't think a flat earth pilot would crash. I just think they'd have a wild misunderstanding of where they left from, what they've traveled over, and where they've arrived.
In your interaction with flat earthers, did they ever accidentally use the phrase "around the world"?
No, no. There's people were committed to it. I mean, people weren't joking. It's genuinely their belief system, and yeah, I mean, it's an all-encompassing ideology. So I did not hear anyone slip up.
Now, how does being a flat earther affect these folks? In their daily, did anyone tell you how it sort of affects them in their daily life? Because I don't know how it would, but it seems like something that would. I mean, I don't know that I do anything different knowing the Earth is round, but I mean, I also would just live my life knowing that is the reality. And when I would see, I guess, a picture of Earth from space, or if I was paying attention to news like NASA just landing a new rover on Mars, I would understand that stuff to be real, and I would understand at least the basic science of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like, if you ask a lot of people that, how it affects their life, if you ask them, like, up front, they'll tell you that it affects a lot of their politics. Like, a lot of them have, on at least surface level, like a very, like, kumbaya kind of, sort of world peace, anti-government mentality. And they'll say, well, when you realize the Earth is flat, you realize that all the world governments have been lying to us, they're trying to divide us, you realize that, we should just be, like, looking out for our fellow man and everything. I'm like, oh, I get it. I don't think the Earth is flat, but it's admirable. But I think the ideology has sort of affected people in more personal ways than everyone wants to admit. I think, one thing is it's such a wild idea, and it's so, funny to a lot of people that quite a few people told me that they've, experienced some kind of like rejection from friends or family. There's an element of isolation where, people talked about, I don't know how to come out as a flat earther on Facebook, or, this part of my family laughs at me, or my sister says I'm crazy. I've seen people on Flat Earth Facebook talk about, their bosses being like, can you not post so much flat earth stuff, on your page? It's weird. So, I think that is a really legitimate aspect, and I'm not sure everyone wants to talk about it. But I think what worries me is, one, people being isolated, and two, I think there's a kind of compounding effect of that, where when you do feel isolated, you look for acceptance, and I think that turns people, doubly inward toward more flat earthers, people who accept them without any judgment. So it definitely has a bearing on people's real lives.
Right. And so you mentioned how a lot of them seem to have, it affects their politics, and being that a lot of Christian fundamentalists or people of, that sort of outlook are into the flat earth movement. Do you find them agreeing, I don't know about agreeing, but yeah, probably agreeing or believing in, that's what I'm looking for, other sort of, I guess, right-wing conspiracies? Like, how many QAnon people were there?
I actually asked quite a few people about QAnon, and variously, like, I got like, oh, I'm not really sure, or I don't know what that is. Someone told me, she's like, this was amazing to me. She's like, QAnon is just someone on a forum telling you what to believe, and I say to question everything. I'm like, okay, I agree with part one. I don't agree that you're applying part two, but okay. What's interesting is that, especially I think with some of the more religiously driven people, or people who come to it from like far right conspiracy, is I started noticing quite a few like anti-Semitic conspiracy theories popping up. You ask people, well, who's hiding flat Earth? And people are like, oh, the government, or the cabal, and then someone's like Freemasons, and someone's like the Jews. I found a book that was like, oh, flat Earth is actually it's a conspiracy. It's Jews hiding that the Earth is flat because they want you to believe that it's round, so that they can control your children in school. And I don't think there's anything inherent. I don't think there's anything like inherent to flat Earth that makes it anti-Semitic. I'm not saying the whole thing is anti-Semitic, but we have like when you look at conspiracy theories, especially ones that allege like a huge cover-up, there is usually this space for saying that like some kind of minority is behind it, right? Or some kind of elite group. And because of how conspiracy theories have really worked in the past, couple hundred years, the narrative is already there to accuse Jewish people of being behind it. In Nazi Germany, they accused Jewish people of being behind their loss in World War II. You get all kinds of allegations about Jewish world control, that kind of thing. So I think a lot of people who wouldn't inherently be anti-Semitic, who don't really naturally harbor much hate, they come to this and they look for who's behind it, and there's this ready-made narrative, and it's like you're talking to someone you think is totally normal, and then they just say something like totally out of the blue. You're like, can we back up to where this was kind of normal? So yeah, there's definitely a right-wing element to, I think, a lot of people's thinking in this community.
Did any of them tell you why they think that? I don't know. I guess people, I guess not specifically Jews, but they're part of that. It seems why people in general would want to make them believe the Earth is round. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think in their logic. Like, what the Jewish people can't control the media if the Earth is flat? I mean, I don't understand the logic behind that.
I probably asked like 15 people this question, and I got so many different answers. The most like very specific one I got, and this is crazy because this guy says he formerly worked at NASA. I can't prove it, and he said he worked in electronics, so he probably wouldn't have like been on spaceships, but that's what he told me. And he's like, my theory is that he's like, well, you see all these aliens in popular culture, and my theory is that the people who are hiding flat Earth are worried about Jesus coming back. So they're telling you that there's outer space, there's no outer space, and that when Jesus does come back, we'll mistake him for an alien and we'll fight him. I'm like, badass. That's a blockbuster movie ready to go.
Dude, your talents were being wasted at NASA anyway. You should be writing scripts.
Yeah, that is a Michael Bay movie. Like, I'm convinced. But yeah, it's there's a lot of theories. You know, people just kind of alleging like kind of nebulous world control things. People saying they want to. A lot of people say that the globe Earth is an attempt to deny God, and by denying God, controlling people. And you know, it's like most people kind of go circular on it. If you keep asking them why, it doesn't ever fully land. Right.
I'm just so it's amazing. It's one of these conspiracies that really doesn't really wrap up all the conspiracies, but there's a lot of overlap, I guess, with the people and what they believe. And speaking of the people, there were some interesting people you specifically mentioned in your piece. I want to touch on a few of them. Speaking of airplanes before, there were people telling you that certain flights could not exist?
Yeah, some people told me that, like, you can't go to Australia direct, or you can't go from Australia to South Africa. You can't go direct from the U.S. to South Africa. And I've gone to both South Africa and Australia within the past 4 years.
But was it direct, Oak? Just making sure.
It was the longest flight. I would know if it was not direct. Maybe we're just circling around the flat Earth trying to burn time.
What would how would a flat Earth stop you from having a direct flight? I don't like what?
Yeah, well, they're saying because we'll go over like certain like far north or far south. I'm not a pilot, but they say that you can't do that because the Earth is flat, so you can't make that like weird curved path that you see in flight paths. They say it's too long.
But if the Earth is flat, I'm just spitballing here. Maybe I'm looking too much into this, but the Earth is flat. I'm assuming, I'm picturing like a video game when, you're playing a game. Things are in front of you, things are behind you, things are to your left, things are to your right. If you have to get to somewhere, those are your directions. You could do that. It's probably easier to fly direct if the Earth was flat than it is if it was a globe.
I have genuinely so many questions. Like as a reporter, you go into a conversation with like, I'm gonna try and touch on A, B, and C, and you leave and you're like, why didn't I interrupt them at like all these points? Because I have so many questions. So yeah, I mean, you can stop and you can challenge this on anything. And after a certain point, you just for the sake of like having a coherent conversation, you just have to be like, cool. And just like let it go, because that's the only way you're going to get through a conversation.
Right. So another person, these are two people you spoke to, and this is an interesting one. Speaking of people who were there who didn't exactly believe the Earth was flat, there was two brothers you spoke to. One was a flat earther, and one was just along for the ride. Now, I think that's very interesting because that other brother certainly must have had quite the experience seeing I don't know what I would do if I went to an event and saw my poor sibling being, a sucker for this sort of thing.
Can I say, so the brother who did believe, I was talking earlier about an atheist, that was him.
What?
Yeah. In full disclosure, these two ruled. They were really funny. And they were just like, it was like a Coen Brothers thing. Like this banter going on. And one would be like, Mike, like you can't see the ISS from Earth. And the guy's like, yes, let me go and get you a telescope. He's like, okay, go get me a telescope. And he's like, okay, cool. You want to go stand outside? No, it's cloudy. And it was like, they were good sports about it. But it was really funny just to like see that dynamic because, they like clearly loved each other and they grown up together. They had all this commonality, except they could not agree on the Earth shape. It was wild.
I feel bad for the, it's weird too that the one that believes is the atheist because you have a brother who doesn't believe. You already are a skeptic. You think those two things combined, someone in your life constantly badgering you over this, combined with your atheism, you'd eventually flip. But I guess this guy really believes the Earth is flat.
Yeah, I mean, he more than a lot of other people said, I'm still I'm evaluating evidence. I'm not going to rule out forever that it's not a globe. But I mean, he was sold on it.
Do flat earthers believe that we're all just living on top? Is there an other side? Are there people living on the underside of Earth?
Not to my knowledge. This particular school of flat earthers, they very strictly believe this is it. There is nothing on the underside. There's nothing outside the dome. It's not even an absence of space. It's just nothing. This is entirety, So that's the world.
I don't even know why I'm continuing to ask some of these things, but how do they think a dome that big, it's way more believable that the Earth is round than that human beings created a extra super extremely large dome to cover it all.
No, God made the extra large dome.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, it's a common mistake. I mean, again, there's no consensus. People have their differing hypotheses, but I'm just, describing the prevailing idea here. It's a God dome.
Wow. So we're just God's pets. He put us in this little cage thing and we just look. Oh, okay. So, geez, I don't even know how to take that. I almost find it more believable now that people would have made the dome than
God.
So
amazing.
Let's talk about actually. There's this incredible saga in your piece that everybody should read first of all because it's fantastic. But there's this incredible saga where apparently there's one of the many flat Earth celebrities apparently has a nemesis who pretends to be them.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I have not figured out completely what this is. Basically, there's a little flat Earth community, and it has a couple celebrities in it. And someone is pretending to be them online. In fact, maybe more than one person, or they're pretending to be the people pretending to be them. I don't know. I have spent just an incredible amount of time trying to work this out. But yeah, someone's registering websites in their name and registering GoFundMes in their name, and the two sides are warring against each other and calling each other frauds. One called in a bomb threat on behalf of the other. The other said that the FBI showed up at his house and did a raid in response to the bomb threat. But I looked up the footage that he said was footage of the raid, and it's not footage of the raid. It's from a CBS channel 5 months before he said the raid took place. So nobody is completely telling the truth here. I'm fascinated. I don't have answers. It's just it's like the Russian nesting dolls of hoaxes. You just
right.
It's is this legit? Is this legit? And I almost wonder if it's not just a huge troll on behalf of people who just think it's funny.
I mean, if there's no honesty in the flat Earth community, what does this world come to, right?
No, this is supposed to be the truth community.
So on our YouTube stream here, there's a comment from Kennedy, who seems to really want to know more about these flat Earth musicians. He's very interested in this.
All right. Number one flat Earth musician. Got to plug in. Name is Flat Earth Man. The YouTube channel, I think, is Conspiracy Music Guru. And like, I have to give credit where it's due. He's a talented musician. I will say though. So he has his whole persona. He sings about, Earth is flat, space is fake, satellites are a lie, and his whole thing is like he's this like Texas cowboy, and he's got the hat, and he's got the Texas drawl. I'm like, sweet, I can't wait to interview him at the conference. And I go up, and he's completely British. He's extremely British, and I'm like, wait, this whole thing is supposed to be about honesty and not putting on airs. Yeah, he's a British guy living in Spain. He's not Texan at all, which was funny. But he's his songs are bangers. Go listen to the Satellite Hoax. It's great song.
So he's legitimately actually good.
Sure. Listen, by my standards of not being able to sing or play instruments, sure, yeah, his video's top quality. He's got a green screen. He does the whole flat Earth production route. It's I recommend watching it for no other reason, just to know it's there.
And what is it? Flat Earth? What's his name? Flat Earth
Man.
Flat Earth Man. All right. You know what? Maybe after we finish talking, I'll listen to some. I'll play some of these for the live streamer, the people in the chat. So let's talk about. Let's go to this, because this is something that sort of went from this flat Earth story is fun and incredible, but this is what really hit the mainstream, because there was an actual, not a flat Earth celebrity, a legitimate celebrity, at least by today's standards, at the Flat Earth Conference.
Yeah, Logan Paul was there.
Logan Paul.
It was extremely weird because I interviewed him. I don't think he's a flat earther at all. Like, he was like laughing and like, I don't care for him, but I don't think he thinks the Earth is flat. But
Did he present himself as someone who believed it?
Yes, he did. He did a speech on the second day, and they introduced him because they love YouTube, right? YouTube is huge. They're like, he's got 18 million. I don't know. He's got a lot of subscribers, and they're all impressionable young kids too, all his subscribers.
So they were promoting him based on his subscriber count.
Yeah, and he went up, he did this like little speech, like, I'm Logan Paul and I'm coming out of the flat Earth closet, and and everyone lost their shit. They're just like, yes! I'm like, no, he's kidding. He had a film crew there. I'm sure he's making a video. It's gonna be like, lol, we went to the flat Earth closet. Remember, closet? Wow, he said coming out of the flat Earth closet.
Right.
We went there. Remember when I laughed at a dead person in the suicide forest? No, don't remember that. Yeah, so I don't think he's sincere at all. But what's funny is I mentioned earlier in the podcast they had a major flat Earth celebrity who was supposed to be there but backed out last minute. That guy emailed me last week, and he's like, I just want you to know that the reason I backed out of the Flat Earth Conference was I found out Logan Paul was there, and I cannot, in good conscience, share a stage with him. I'm like, I get it. Like,
wow.
Props.
So they lost one of their own celebrities, someone who actually is known in that community, just to basically, I don't know, I guess, use someone who's got a big subscriber count. They were drawn in by the influencer economy.
Oh yeah, and like what's so funny, this ruled is that most people there didn't know who he was. Like they love YouTube, and they've got their huge celebrities, but they didn't really, most people, know who Logan Paul was. So there was like a huge line to talk to like Flat Earth Man, and Logan Paul was just kind of wandering around. And then this is like further evidence to they didn't know who he was. Someone recently emailed me who'd been at the Flat Earth Conference, accused me of bringing Logan Paul, who they still didn't appear to know who he was, but as a stooge to make Flat Earth look dumb. They thought like I brought him as a plant. I'm like, I cannot summon Logan Paul. Actually, I'm a glorified blogger, and I wouldn't do it if I could. So yeah, he didn't. I don't think he got exactly the response they were hoping, but he was there.
Right. I sort of wish I knew Logan Paul, not because I think he's cool. In fact, I would probably hate every moment of knowing him, but there's probably money to be made from being a friend of Logan Paul.
Absolutely. You two can have the weird YouTube merch and live in a YouTube dorm with 15 other YouTubers.
Right. So, well, speaking of merch, actually, I'm assuming that other than the conference, there are other grifts within the flat Earth community. I mean, what's a conspiracy without a grift?
Of course. I mean, even there, you could buy T-shirts, you could buy hats, Bibles. Could you buy a Bible? Oh, I'm sure you could buy a Bible. You could buy flat Earth books. You can pay money to fund this guy's rocket trip. He's building something called a raccoon, a rocket balloon, and he says that he's going to fire a rocket. He's going to, attach himself to a rocket, fire it into space, and then when it gets to the point where he can't go up in the rocket anymore with the, size of the small rocket he built, he's going to release a balloon, and that's going to take him up high enough to the point where he can see the curvature of the Earth, take a picture of it, and prove that there is no curvature. So you can give him money.
And he's going to do this all just strapped to a rocket.
Yeah, he's actually done a stunt already strapped to a rocket, and he did it fine. I mean, I heard he was like a little injured at the end, but he did it just fine. Like, again, I have to give credit where due. Him, Flat Earth Man, they're doing stuff within the medium.
Wait, so do they think like because there's a dome, so he would only go so far up, right? I mean, has he thought this through?
So I think his reasoning is like, okay, so they say you can start to see curvature at around 35,000 feet if you have like a 60-degree view of vision. And so I guess he wants to go up that high and take a picture to prove that even if you're up that high, there's no curve. That doesn't seem like it would be completely scientifically convincing. Like, you can't take one picture and be like, this disproves the globe. But I mean, I applaud his efforts.
Right. I mean, honestly, if I was there and he told me that little math equation you just told me, I would say, you know what? I believe you. That's you thought this through more than I have. I mean,
and pretty much if you tell me any math, I'm like, yeah, that sounds right.
So when people are at this conference, I mean, and you've been to conferences before that weren't Flat Earth conferences, other than the actual topic of the show, Flat Earth beliefs. Is it just like any other sort of conference event?
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of people are just there to mingle, right? I mean, for a lot of them, it's a community. It's a community that's sort of given them support when I think a lot of people don't feel like they have support in other walks of life. So yeah, a lot of people are just hanging out. Like, I think I saw the prelude to a Flat Earth hookup. I can't be sure, but like, there's,
wow.
There are people who just, would hang out for a long time. I'm like, okay. I mean, listen, it's got to be hard. Maybe it's hard to find a date in the Flat Earth community. I don't know. But yeah, people are just there to hang out, and definitely people got drunk. I mean, it was sort of Flat Earth summer camp.
Is Flat Earth Gathering of the Juggalos, perhaps? Is that?
Oh my God. Yeah, that'd be that's the dream. It's like the most ambitious crossover.
Right, but they're Juggalos. I don't want to throw them under the bus because they're honestly way too smart for this shit.
Juggalos are incredibly legit, and some of them have really good politics. It's actually
they are, yeah.
Yeah.
It's too bad they're on the FBI. Why? Because that's just ridiculous. They're on the FBI like terrorist or gang list or something.
Yeah, they're a gang designation, which is crazy.
So did anyone? I know you don't have much more time, but speaking of hookups, I guess the next logical step is: were there any kids at this at this Flat Earth event?
Yeah, there were. I mean, it wasn't the majority. I'd say maybe the like largest demographic was like early 60s men. But yeah, there were kids, there were families. And I mean, I guess it makes sense, right? Like, if your whole belief system is like Earth is flat, and I mean, it turns into like a religious and a political thing. Yeah, you bring your kids in, I guess. there are some Flat Earth YouTube kids. I mean, it's actually not going to talk about them and let them do their thing, but yeah, but yeah, it's not limited to adults. I mean, people were there with the whole gang, and that was kind of strange to me.
Right. Now, Kelly, I got to tell you, when I invited you on the show, I'm a little disappointed, honestly, because when I invited you on the show, I assumed that you went there, they won you over, and you were going to come on the show and try to convert me to become a flat earther as well. So I was ready for it.
If you like play my audio backwards, it's just going to be it's all going to be flat Earth stuff, and everyone will be convinced. It's all been subliminal, so eventually you'll convert.
Right. So Kelly Weill of the Daily Beast, thank you so much for joining us today to talk about the Flat Earth Conference. Really, one of my favorite guests to have on the show, and I'm sort of distracted right now because I just received a really weird. I get Donald Trump's tweets sent to my phone because I'm still crazy. I'm crazy. I believe it's a retweet. Okay. But basically, a Donald Trump tweet showed up that turns out to be a retweet, but it popped up and it's completely in Korean. So I was a bit taken back. I thought Donald Trump had went nuts and just decided to tweet in Korean.
I'm not ruling it out. It's, out of all the things that could happen, it's on the likelier end of things. So.
Right. I also just realized that I said if Donald Trump went nuts, which is giving him too much credit. And I also realized that before we started this interview, I was discussing that I had some reservations giving Logan Paul attention, as you come on a show where I literally give some of the worst conspiracy theorists attention. But I guess Logan Paul, in some ways, with his much larger platform than any of these other people, many ways, I guess, is the worst of them all. Really, maybe.
Oh yeah, I mean, as I was interviewing him with one of his camera people filming me, I'm like, God damn it, I'm gonna end up on a video, and all 18 million of his mean 12-year-old followers are just gonna dunk on me. So,
did that happen? Did you get Logan Paul backlash? Fan backlash, I should say.
I have not got fan backlash because I don't think he's made a video. But I also feel like if he did make a video, and if I even briefly appear in it, someone will find me.
That's even more startling to me, being that how I just said how he has that platform, that his fans literally, apparently, are so into him that they're not even paying attention to other news talking about him. They just watch what he has to say, which is a little bit startling, actually. Because if I was a fan of somebody and not in this younger YouTube teen audience, I pay attention to the news. So if someone's talking about a celebrity, an actor, or a pro wrestler that I like, and they do something outside their own world that they broadcast, I would want to know about it. But apparently, his fans will just take the world presented by Logan Paul.
Yep, and it's like flat earthers. They take the world presented by their favorite YouTubers, so it's not as weird as it seems.
Right, and in the end, I guess they do belong together. Kelly, thank you for spending your Friday night talking about the Flat Earth Society with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. Let me just pull up the old YouTube chat. At first, why don't I pull up this? What did I do with that? This Flat Earth man. Let's listen to some of his songs here. Let's see. New song, Flat Earth Man. Welcome to the satellite hoax. Let's see what this. Oh, I got an ad popping up. Hold on. I'll pull up the. Let me skip the ad here. All right. I am bringing up Flat Earth Man. I'm doing a split screen here. Okay, you can see me on YouTube, and here we go. Let's play this bad boy. Let's give it a listen. Ooh, you can listen to his stuff on Spotify and iTunes, Amazon Music, and Google Play. He's up on all the digital music platforms, this Flat Earth Man.
Welcome to the satellite hoax. Alright, let's do this.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Not real satellite footage, this says. It's a man in a cowboy hat with footage of satellites flying behind him on a green screen. This is incredible. I don't know what else to say. Let's fast forward to some lyrics here. Here we go. Oh my god, he's sitting on a satellite. Oh my god. Oh my god. I gotta say, and remember that Kelly said that this guy, she met him, at the conference, and he's actually a British guy. It wasn't half bad, to be honest with you. If this was like a guy who was in on the joke and his whole gimmick was this was a parody, it'd be pretty good, actually. Because you would allow the music to... It's actually, the music's not... it's not great, but it's not bad. Oh, boy. That was an experience in and of itself. It was certainly catchy. Yes, for sure. Certainly catchy. Let's go to the comments here. And then I think I could oh, look at that. I just pulled up the comments on the stream here. All right, let's see. Sean Zone reminded me at the beginning of the show that I did not tweet that I am live now. I did not self-promote. He was telling me to self-promote. Thank you, Sean. And when I saw your message, I did. You reminded me to. The Norwegian 76 asked, surveillance? How does that happen? Do they attach cameras to the Earth Dome? I mean, that's what I assumed. I should have asked Kelly, but it seemed pretty obvious that if the dome is overreaching and on top of them all, it keeps us all confined on this flat Earth we live on, then, I mean, that's where they would be. Kennedy says the dome is a camera lens. Ooh, that would be something else, wouldn't it? I wonder if that's a conspiracy. That sounds like they would believe, actually. So maybe you should pitch that to them if they haven't already thought of it. Start your own flat Earth grift. The Norwegian 76 says, how come no one has ever reported from the edge of the dome? Right. Oh, and I forgot to ask Kelly the most obvious of questions, but I guess it's sort of cliche in a way. Why hasn't anyone ever fallen off this flat Earth? Like, just gone over the side, just fallen off. I guess I sort of asked that when I asked, are people living on the underside of Earth? Because if they were, and you went to the edge, obviously you would just, like, go under. Sort of like a factory-esque conveyor belt. The Norwegian continues. The Flat Earth Society's proof the internet was a mistake. Funny thing is, like in 2003, my punk band at the time, we played a few shows with a local New Jersey hardcore band called Flat Earth Society. And me being 15, 16, it was like 2003, 2004. I guess I had heard of Flat Earth, but I was like, Flat Earth Society. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, these guys are doing a play off of that. And but that's how long I've really known about, at the very least, since high school, the early 2000s. It's an old conspiracy. And it definitely goes before that. I think it certainly predates even the truthers. Brett Reed asks, the Flat Earth people are so ridiculous that I'm never sure if they're serious or this is all an elaborate joke. Right. I mean, it also sort of makes them harmless in a way. It's their other beliefs that sort of dip into this one. The other conspiracies that they believe in, because they're already so deep into one as extremely crazy as flat eartherness, I guess you can say. Sean Zone, how do flat earthers explain meteors? The Norwegian adds dome debris. That makes sense, actually, from their perspective, doesn't it? Brett Reed, continues. Listening to arguments about how gravity doesn't exist is kind of hilarious, though. The Progressive Atheists, it is not kind of hilarious, Brett. It is extremely, certainly 110% hilarious. The Progressive Atheist says, Matt Binder looks like Rasputin. Why, thank you. Kennedy says, I love everything about this. Right. Brett adds, funniest episode of Doomed ever. Thank you. I hope all the episodes, minus, I guess, the white supremacist ones, are the funniest episodes of Doomed ever. But in a way, I think I sort of could also sometimes make those white supremacist ones fun, too. Kennedy says, I want to go to Flat Earth Con 2019. I really do, too, actually. Brett says, come on, guys. The ISS is a myth, just like Obama's birth certificate, /S for sarcasm. Kennedy says, so what? Does God collect snow globes or something? You know, that was my first thought, too, and I was about to say that to Kelly, but then I realized that the word globe is in that. So, no, you cannot say we live in a snow globe. However, there are those flat ones, right? The ones that aren't globes. Like those cheap ones with the plastic at the bottom that's like just like a half globe, a.k.a. a dome. Perhaps that is the reality of it all, isn't it? We're all living in one of those half snow globes. Half globes. Progressive Atheist. Earth is flat. No, I'm not crazy. I'm just more informed than you. Not only is Earth flat, it's also expanding as well. Kennedy adds in, that's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. Why would anyone want to listen to Logan Paul give a speech? Right. Amazing that the Flat Earthers were also sort of like, ooh, his YouTube subscriber count. This can get us some attention. But other than that, they could not give a damn who Logan Paul was. I relate to that on many levels with the Flat Earthers. Kennedy Crouch. The conspiracy theory grift is a huge on the dumb bro part of YouTube. Is huge. Right. It is. It is huge. I'm sorry. Let me say it how I do. Huge with a Y. Brian Arguello. Logan Paul has to reach out to flat earthers to book a speech. That's, you know what? I almost think, though, that he did it while I know the point you're making and I agree with it, I also think he clearly has a content goal in mind here of his own. Ever the YouTube content creator, I'm sure Logan Paul is looking at the big content picture. Brett Reed adds, yes, Paul sees it as a new market. I'd rather give my money to an actual raccoon. Speaking of the weird name rocket thing. Right, that was incredible. Kennedy, I'm with you. If Logan Paul begins to align himself with the cause that I'm passionate about, I would have to reconsider that belief regardless of what it was. Juggalos are actually pretty cool. They just listen to bad music. Right, and you know what? I have to say that sometimes there's some ICP songs that are quite catchy. Magnets, how do they work? Come on. Although that's a little bit flat earther there, right? That whole song. It's a little bit on the flat earther spectrum of things, isn't it? Now I got the gears turning in my head, to be honest with you. I'm getting a text message here from Romina. Let's see. Oh, she was listening to the episode. Let's see here. She has a comment to add, too. I think some of them think that the researchers and scientists in Antarctica are actually there to keep people from going to the edge of the Earth. Wait, what? And North Pole, she adds. So some of them think that the researchers and scientists in Antarctica are actually there to keep people from going. That's. I got to read this again. Some of them think that the researchers and scientists in Antarctica are actually there to keep people from going to the edge of the Earth. In the North Pole and Antarctica, right. Wow. So, researchers and scientists living in Antarctica and the North Pole are actually the flat earther version of like the Border Patrol, I guess. But their job is to stop us from falling over the edge and learning the truth. So what about on the left and right then? Like if we go up and there's the North Pole, we go down and there's south, I should say, and there's Antarctica. So to the east and to the west of us, what's going on there? Is that just the no man's land where we're free to actually discover? Someone involved in the government here did not think this through. Deploying troops to Antarctica and North and the North Pole to block us from discovering the edges of the Earth, but they forgot about the edges on the east and the west. Unbelievable. The government really screwed this up, didn't they? God damn it. Now people are going to discover the truth. This is too much. Brett, attach camera and GPS tracker to a helium balloon. Let it go. Track it down after it falls back to Earth. See the curvature of Earth. Middle schoolers have figured this out. Again, the government did not account for these middle schoolers and their elementary school level science projects. Kennedy says, amazing interview, LOL. Thank you. Norwegian says, great one. Kennedy calls the Flat Earth man, guy, whatever he is, Flat Earth Kid Rock, which I will now be calling him that because it is a much better description. Michael Spencer, turn the music up. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I have it too low? My bad. Well, Google Flat Earth guy, Flat Earth man, whatever, Flat Earth man, and he'll come up. The problem is the audio level controls on my streaming software. They allow me to control the audio that you guys hear, but it does not also affect that audio for my headphones. So I blew it there, I guess. I'm sorry. Norwegian also adds Kid Rock Flat Earther. Kennedy says this is going to be stuck in my head, LOL. Speaking of the song. Theos Praxis with the comment of the night. He's the Jimmy Reefer Cake of Flat Earthers. Yes, for you non-majority reporter listeners, which probably of all of you is very few. Jimmy Reefer Cake is a long-time listener of the Majority Report with Sam Cedar, where I used to work. And he would send in a weekly song. I think he still does, actually. This is years now. He sends in a weekly song to be played on the Friday program of the Friday version of the show, where it's Jimmy Reefer Cake's riffing on the weekend news. And let's just say the guy's name is Jimmy Reefer Cake, so he's very special. And his songs are also very special. And listen, credit where credit is due. He is his songs are very interesting, just like the Flat Earth Man songs. Some of them are actually very catchy and very good too. But yeah, it's hit or miss with Jimmy Reefer Cake, just like it probably is with this guy. Brian Arguello, in another dimension, this dude writes a song every week and sends it to some Jewish guy's podcast. LMAO, right? The Norwegian 76, LOL. Kennedy, just mashing on the keyboard here, I guess, dying of laughter. Brett Reed, LOL, Jimmy came to mind. Brian Arguello, Jimmy Flatcake. Right. Theo Praxis, Jimmy Pancakes. Oh my God, this is too much. Norwegian, you don't fall off a dome. The dome is in the way. Right. I forgot it. But, well, what if the dome extends just a little bit past the edges? Ever think of that? Jimmy Reefer Dome, says Kennedy. Wint James, if Earth was a globe, where are the upside down waterfalls? Right. Oxy, flat earthers are the special few who have outsmarted the great lie and understood the truth about the actual nature of the world. The Norwegian, wake up! Wait, have you not heard about the Antarctic Ice Wall that NASA has armed guards at? Asks Oxy. No, I haven't, Oxy. Would you like to tell me about it? The Norwegian, how are there two poles? Doesn't that go against the concept? Right. Good. I guess they have to just go with, they say it's the two poles, to further the globalist agenda, right? But in reality, it's just the northernmost point and the southernmost point, right? Or I guess edge, maybe, would be more accurate. Who knows? Oxy says not the North Pole, just the Antarctic. Right. I guess, right? Kennedy, LOL, there's a whole different kind of ice. But right. Oxy says it's a polar map with the North Pole in the center and the Great Antarctic Wall surrounding the flat circle. The Norwegian says, I wonder how many flat earthers were homeschooled. Right. But that also, you want to know something else? You know who else was homeschooled? Michael Brooks, all right? So, so maybe there's an overlap there. I mean, we often hear Michael talking about foreign policy and what's going on in Brazil and everything else under the sun. But has Michael ever spoken about whether he believes the Earth is round, a globe, or flat? That's something maybe should be addressed, I think, immediately on the Michael Brooks Show. Especially after this revelation that flat earthers and Michael Brooks both went to the same school. Home. Oxy. They accounted for it by manufacturing all cameras capable of going that high with wide angle lenses that give a fisheye effect. Theo Dillon. Too many Theos. Sean Zone says I'd rather hear some IAFC tunes. Right. Ooh, I gotta pull some up because they're not. Listen, that band preluded so much of the internet. There were songs on MySpace, but when MySpace reverted stuff over, the songs got lost. The account is still there, but they deleted almost everything off of it except for a few pictures. The IFC music is out there on a hard drive I have somewhere. And I'm sure there's people actually who have it on their computers from when we were handing out demos and downloads of it back in 2003 to 2006 when the band existed. But I don't have them on this computer right now. Got another text from Romina who is listening to this. She sent me a whole screenshot here. Let's see. From the TFES.org wiki. What is TFES? Oh, is that the Flat Earth Society website? All right, let's read this. What does the Earth look like? How is circumnavigation possible? Asks the wiki question, and let's see the answer. As seen in the diagrams above, the Earth is in the form of a disk with the North Pole in the center and Antarctica as a wall around the edge. This is generally accepted model among... let me see if I could pull this up actually. Hold on. Is it possible to... So you guys can see this. Let's see here. Because there's a picture of a disc. Let's see if I could get this on camera for you guys. 1 second. For you YouTube live streamers. All right. So this should do the... Nope. It just gets me back to the... Oh, wait. Here we go. Right. And you see that... See that there? See that disc that they believe? That's what they think. That's the disc right there for you watching. So basically, they view the Earth as, how picture the round Earth, how it is, a globe, and picture it in a textbook, how it's printed 2D on a textbook. Now, that 2D version of the Earth that they see, that round circular globe that's just printed 2D because that's how print on paper works. That's how they think the Earth actually is in reality. So let me read let's get me back up on the camera here, and let's read the rest of this from the wiki. As seen in the diagram, the Earth is in the form of a disk with the North Pole in the center and Antarctica as a wall around the edge. This is the generally accepted model among members of the society. In this model, circumnavigation is performed by moving in a great circle around the North Pole. The Earth is surrounded on all sides by an ice wall that holds the oceans back. This ice wall is what explorers have named Antarctica, obviously. Beyond the ice wall is a topic of great interest to the Flat Earth Society. To our knowledge, no one has been very far past the ice wall and returned to tell of their journey. Wait, no one has been very far past the ice wall and returned to tell about their journey. So you're saying that people have been past the ice wall, though, just not very far. So let's hear from them. Who are these people who went beyond the ice wall, albeit not very far past it? But who are these people who went past the wall? Something's not right here. Let me continue. What we do know is that it encircles the Earth and serves to hold in our oceans and helps protect us from whatever lies beyond. Here's a picture of a proposed, but certainly not definitive flat Earth. That's the image I showed you on YouTube. Other maps representing various flat Earth models can be found on our Flat Earth's Maps page. Interesting. Very interesting. Brett Reed, Brooks was homeschooled? Huh. You learn something new every day. Really? You don't know this? This is disappointing to me because that means once I left the Majority Report, Michael Brooks being homeschooled didn't become a regular, bit on the show that Sam and, when I was there, myself, badgered him with. I'm very disappointed to hear that the show went downhill after I left now. Really disappointing. If Michael being homeschooled isn't still a regular segment on the program, then, I don't know what to say. Disappointing. And speaking of a Majority Report, this past, was it Thursday, was Sam Cedar's birthday. Happy birthday, Sam. I tweeted him to wish him a happy birthday. But it was also the anniversary of the 1 year anniversary of Mike Cernovich getting Sam fired and literally blowing up the Majority Report, opening it up to apparently very many thousands more people than when I was there. I'm the one who discovered Mike Cernovich. I put that motherfucker on the map when he was in Gamergate, and I exposed his old tweets. I was the guy who did that. God damn it. See, that's what happens when you're not a self-promoter. I did that. Cernovich, everyone knew who Cernovich was because of it, but no one knew who did that stuff, who exposed them. And then Cernovich got big for being a Trumper, and then Trump won the presidency, and then he gets Sam fired, and then Sam gets big because he got fired by Cernovich. Unbelievable. See, I was working at the Majority Report during my Cernovich expose. If I knew getting fired by Cernovich would take me to these new heights, I would have just asked Sam to fire me from the Majority Report then. Unbelievable. Let's go back to let's go back to the comments. Michael Spencer. You need to start monetizing this gig like Michael Brooks. Well, there's the Patreon, which we're now an hour and 15 minutes into the show, and I've yet to mention it. Patreon.com/Matt Binder. That's where you could support this show. I know I've been teasing that once we hit the goal, I will start putting out bonus content for you guys. And literally, we have yet to hit that goal. Every time we gain a subscriber or two or three, we lose a subscriber or two or three. It's insane how that works. And again, if you cannot afford the $5 or less or more, or really however much you want to give to help support this show, totally understandable. If you can't afford it, please don't give me money if you need that money. But if you can support this show, please do. But yeah, but speaking of the bonus stuff, I'm just going to go ahead with it in the new year. It's going to be 2019. There's going to be, speaking of my new, trying to be better self-promoter, we are going to be full on into the presidential campaigning season very soon. I am going to take advantage of that season, and I will be doing a lot of extra content, I hope. Definitely a little bit of extra content, if not a lot of extra content. We'll see. Probably maybe one extra show a month, maybe one extra show every 2 weeks. That'd be 2 extra shows a month. maybe one extra show every week. I'll see how it works out, but you guys will definitely be getting that extra stuff in the coming weeks. I've been teasing because let's do this. The Norwegian 76 says, have to ask Brooks about the globalism, right? Oxy says, see, Matt, get your facts straight. Speaking about the wiki I was reading that Romina sent me. Oxy, you know what the proof is? It's right in front of your face. Look up the UN logo. Right. Brett Reed says, how do they explain the nature of the Earth's magnetic field? The Norwegian, why is it cold in the center of the disk? Right. Also, is there a center of the Earth? Like, journey to the center of the Earth? Like, is there, is the center just when you walk to the middle of the flat Earth plane, I guess? When there's equal distance to your north, south, east, and west? Is that just the center of the Earth? Also, how far down does the Earth go? How much ground is there? How much is there an Earth's crust that's just not like, I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Sean Zone, we need to get you up to the Logan Paul subscription numbers. Right. Well, we gotta at least do that. Doomed.tv, that's free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Doomed.tv, subscribe to that for sure. Hey, if you can't support via Patreon, let's also get people to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because then I could eventually monetize it and maybe make up the some cash money there in lieu of the extra Patreon support. Also, leave a review on iTunes, please, if you will, right? I wanted to bring up the Laura Loomer thing that happened yesterday. I almost feel like it's going to get lost at the end of this show. How about this? I'll do more about it on the next episode, but I should talk about it today really quick, and then that'll be the show. So yesterday I'm at work. I'm at Mashable, and I actually was out for lunch. I was actually on the phone with a friend of mine who was my boss over at Cafe, just catching up with Blake Zeff, and got off the phone, and going back to work, and I go online and I see that this Periscope stream pops up on my feed. I don't remember who I first saw tweet it, but it wasn't gaining traction at first. And I click it, and it's Laura Loomer handcuffing herself to the front door handle of Twitter's New York City office. And for those of you who don't know, Laura Loomer is a far right-wing conspiracy theorist who sort of rose to fame. Many things sended her to fame as sort of this online troll. One was she was one of the foremost Las Vegas shooting conspiracy theorists. She interrupted a Jack Dorsey's congressional hearing, yelling about Twitter removing her blue check mark when they took away the verification badge last year, from users that they claim shouldn't have had it to begin with. A lot of them were white supremacists and alt-right figures. Basically, though, people who weren't following Twitter's rules. What else? She's also the one, the woman who stormed the stage of the Shakespeare in the Park last summer, the one where right-wingers were up in arms because Caesar was portrayed as Trump, which when Obama was president, that same theater group portrayed Caesar as Obama. But it bothered them that Caesar was portrayed as Trump. So Laura Loomer stormed the stage and interrupted that, while Jack Posobiec started screaming about gerbils or whatever from what he meant to say was Goebbels, but he started screaming about gerbils from the audience. She does things like that. Oh, also last year she was banned for life from using Uber and Lyft after going on a tweet rampage about how she couldn't find a non-Muslim Uber or Lyft driver. And once those two companies got a hold of that, they didn't appreciate her disparaging their drivers. So, she last week tweeted something about one of the congressional House Representative-elects, one of the new members of Congress coming in office, the first Somali American representative, I believe. She tweeted something about her believing in Sharia and attacking her for being, anti-gay, which of course is not true. Just, just horrific attacks with absolutely no truth to them. And she got suspended from Twitter for it. And her account's been banned, I believe, for life. Yes, totally gone. It's just suspended. Gone. She's off of Twitter. And as someone who was following Jack Dorsey around in real life, begging them to return her blue verification badge, you can naturally suspect that she would not handle her entire Twitter account of, I believe, over 200,000 followers being deleted. She wouldn't handle that quite well. So she did this stunt where she handcuffed herself to Twitter's front door in New York, in their New York office. Incredible. We'll talk more about that because there's more to say about it, actually, on the next episode. Sean Zone says, subscribe and like. Oxy says, to Matt, 4 minutes in the future. It's turtles all the way down. Brett Reed, so I guess we should stop drilling for oil because we might drill right through the other side, right? And then we might just fall through because if we can't get around because of the dome, if we drill through the bottom, that might be problematic because who knows what's under there, because if the earth is flat, God would have just made a dome that's just, on top. He wouldn't suspect we would somehow get on the other side unless the dome goes all the way around like a snow globe type dome. And there are people living on the underside of the flat earth. We'll really have to figure this out. And the final chat message of the day, the night. This is Friday night. Yep. Thank you for spending your Friday night with me, by the way, everybody. I don't know, you could be out, instead of listening to flat earth conspiracy theories, you could be out having a social life, going out on a date, drinking with your buddies. But, like I said, you're here with me listening to Flat Earth Conspiracies on YouTube. I truly appreciate it. Brian Arguello with the final chat of the day. Thanks, Binder. That shit, speaking of Laura Loomer, made my day. It was so hilarious. Right. And I covered it on Mashable if you want to go read the story I wrote on Mashable about it. And I believe the headline begins with starved for attention. Speaking of Laura Loomer. And you should definitely all go read Kelly Weill, our guest today's piece on the Flat Earth Conference on the Daily Beast's website. She also did a follow-up about the blowback from Flat Earth celebrities criticizing the Flat Earth Conference organizers for booking Logan Paul on the event. Very interesting stuff. Sean Zone, thanks, Matt. Great show, IFC Forever. Amazing what was started last week with apparently people in my current life. Speaking of IFC, very few people who I currently interact with speak of IFC. It's usually when I run into someone on the street from college or from high school, or when my dad, who brought it up in the chat last episode, or when I see him and he brings it up. Fantastic now. I really got to find those IFC songs. Maybe even reach out to my old buddies and put together an IFC reunion just for you doomed listeners. We'll do a live YouTube show reunion. Right. Brett Reed says, take it easy, Matt. Brian says, nice. And we'll leave it there. Thank you all for joining me on the journey to the center of the Flat Earth Conspiracy. See you all next time on Doomed.